What's happening? What's happening? Peace, love, and chicken grease. Grand rising, kings and queens, my brothers and sisters. You are now tuning in to J.U.K Sports Show. Nah, just but I am your host, King Ralph, here with the homie and my co-host, the homie Kai. Was popping, Brody?
What's good, man? Your boy needs a fresh cut, bro. So I got the hoodie today, but yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good.
Oh God, that's why I got this hat on, man. I need the fresh retwist.
Hey, bro, I'm loving the Bulls hat NBA season. You know, you in season.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it's all cool, man. It's all cool. But
And before we
go ahead, yeah. Do everything.
Before we get the show rolling, you want to do any music videos, photo shoot, podcasts like what you're watching? Call the number on the bottom of the screen, 707 Fit Boxer as well. Tune in, like, subscribe, share, all of that good stuff with our socials. The sports show itself, J.U.K. Sports Show on at all of that on Instagram. There will be a revamp next week. You will be able to tune into the He Say She Say podcast as well as this sports show on Juke Media, on the Juke Media page on YouTube as well as Facebook. The name will be changing from the He Say She Say channel, but we're gonna go straight into it. There's a lot of juiciness. Some good stuff happened over the weekend and this last week in sports. So we got our 2-minute drill. The Bengals defeat the Buffalo Bills. There's been a lot of trash talking as is in sports, but someone that you would not expect to be saying anything much, because I just don't get it. Eli Apple has had a lot to say over the last couple of days on Twitter. I figure he's trolling because ain't no way you like that trash, but also talking the loudest. So should he be quiet is the question.
Yes, I believe that Eli Apple should be quiet. There's no and this is not no shut up and dribble type of thing when we're talking, you know. But this is such a scenario where it's you have to have what's that word? Being humble, right? Being respectful and wins, right? There's a level of not even being humble. It's having class. There we go. Having a level of class. So for those of you guys who do not know, you know, Eli Apple, you know, after they beat the Bengals, so I actually pull up his tweet or whatever. I'm not gonna read all his tweets. I'm just not gonna do that. But he pretty much he was on that whole Cancun 1, 2, 3, you know, thing, which I understand people say after losses, but he was going back and forth with, you know, like fans and players, and he actually used the cup signal after he said, you know, we're the greatest, and he used the heart hands, DeMar Hamlin. I really found it insensitive, and I wasn't really trying to find ways to side with Eli Apple. I know he's a division rival and all that kind of stuff, but he has a long tenured history of saying things or doing things that rub people the wrong way. And as of late, Ralph, when we know the situation with DeMar Hamlin, the cup thing was something they even have a patch on the Bills jerseys, on players' jerseys, and you saw him up there in the press box and doing that, and that's a direct symbol, right? Of you know, hey, you know, I was able to make it through. It's more of a symbol of strength, a symbol of perseverance after a life altering incident that occurred with him. So to keep it short, I just found it extremely classist, and I found it insensitive because you can't even say, "Oh, is this like an emoji or something?" You know what I'm saying? Right. So yeah, and I don't know if that's me or you. There's
I don't know that. I'm hearing it, but I don't have anything that's open where that would be happening.
I have my end.
Plug, so. But hey, I don't know. Maybe it's your mic too close. I don't know. Maybe it's mic too close to the mic. I don't know. Not sure.
All right.
But yeah, I definitely bet. I think I agree with you, bro. I do think he needs to be quiet. One, you too trash to be this loud. Like Ben Simmons once famously told Nurkic, you talk a lot of shit to be ass. So be quiet. Plus, I just think that the timing of everything It's insensitive. You got to read the room, know the temperature. Like you might have took the hard hands and thought it meant something else, but that's something that this person, this team, someone on the other team is going through something that so tragic. Could have been a tragic situation, and it's truly a work of the work of God for him to be still on this planet and might possibly have a possibility of being able to play next year.
Yeah. So
Bill O'Brien being brought back in as the OC of the Patriots. Is this just what the doctor ordered for Mac Jones?
I believe it is. Um, I think what people need to understand is when we talk about the Patriots and Bill O'Brien, right? We can't look at Bill O'Brien, Ralph, in terms of what he was doing as a GM. He's not going into a GM role. We have to look
Right.
at Bill O'Brien as what he's doing as on a coaching staff, as an offensive coordinator, which he does have a mind and an app for being able to do those things. So, for a couple of quick reasons why I believe it's a good move, is because he knows the Patriots system. He was an assistant coach for them from 2007 to 2011. I believe he became like a coordinator for them in 2011 or so, for 10 or 11. He has familiarity with the starting quarterback, Mac Jones, at Alabama, where Mac Jones pretty much helped him. There was like a two-way effort in terms of learning the Crimson Tide Alabama offense in 2021 in Mac Jones' last year at Alabama. And then you have the fact that they needed to implement an offensive-minded head coach. Well, the last two guys, Judge and Matt Patricia, were defensive-minded guys, and me and you know Matt Patricia had no business calling plays there, right?
No.
So I look at it from that. I look at it from the perspective that the Patriots, I found some cool stats that they were 26th in the NFL in yards per game this year. They had the worst red zone offense in the entire league this season. And so you look at the fact that Bill Belichick, he feels the heat. They need to be able to make the playoffs. They need to be able to get a playoff win. I believe they haven't had a playoff win, if I'm not correct, in the last 3 seasons. So for all those reasons, having familiarity with the system, having familiarity with the quarterback, and also the Patriots owner back in March came out and said that, he was pretty much tired of losing, or tired of, not having any form of playoff success, because the Patriots were once a dynasty. So since Tom Brady's left, they haven't really, been able to get going. So Mac Jones, it's really hard for like me and other people and even fans to just evaluate him properly without having a proper offensive coordinator around him that can make most use of the offensive weapon. So I actually think that this is a solid move, and then we'll see how it goes from there.
I think it's a move that gets you right on back on the right track. Is what I meant.
Yeah.
Is what I was trying to say. Mac Jones being someone that they didn't move up. They moved up to get him, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
you moved up to get him. He has a very successful Pro Bowl rookie season.
Yeah.
Second year, now we're questioning whether or not was he the right pick, or is this the person to get the job done going forward? Is Bill Belichick lost it and all of this? So I think that certain situations, when you give people opportunities based on your relationships with them rather than the actual fit,
Right.
Patricia being your offensive coordinator should have never happened, especially with him being a defensive guy and he didn't have success as a head coach. So
Right.
why would you come in and put him in a position that maybe it's an opportunity to see and give him a chance to be like, hey, this is how you run an offense, but he just didn't do it well, and he didn't catch on quick. And I think that the opportunity is one of those things where we start to talk about this Rooney Rule, and opportunities given to people based off of relationships rather than actual fit. I think that this is exactly what the doctor ordered. They
Yeah.
have the quarterback OC combination is extremely important. I
And I
heard
feel like,
someone
but,
I heard someone
but
over the weekend. They were talking about Andy Reid said that the two most important things as a head coach is your quarterback and your offensive coordinator.
mm, mm,
And I think that those two they got to have a certain type of synergy that is going to lead the team in the right direction for it to achieve success. And I
yeah.
think that Mac Jones, Bill O'Brien has showed that he's a good offensive mind. Probably not the best head coach. Maybe not definitely not the best GM.
He was like Doc Rivers. No,
Right. Out
I'm
here
sorry,
just
Doc.
doing he's just doing stuff because he could.
Right.
But like I think that this is exactly what the doctor ordered as far as Mac Jones and his career. as the starting quarterback there, because I think Matt Jones has showed that he's most certainly. I put him in the top 20 as far as
Mm-hmm.
starting quarterbacks. We'll see what his ceiling is
Okay.
as he gets better, but I think Pro Bowl rookie season, you're on the right trajectory.
Yeah.
Next up, we got the Pro Bowl coming next week. Um,
I'm gonna
I
let
would
you
take
set
the
that
lead.
one off.
I would take the lead
Yeah.
on this one because it's
Yeah.
as a person that is trying to work my way into sports media, I'm gonna
Mhm.
try because it is in Las Vegas and it's a local event. It's one of those things where I'm happy it's here because it gives a certain type of exposure that I probably wouldn't have been able to go
Yeah.
if it was somewhere else. Would I have wanted to go if it was somewhere else? So the fact that it's in Vegas kind of makes me go, and I'm off after 2 o'clock. So if there's any events that's going on, excuse me, after that two
Yeah.
p.m. threshold, there's an opportunity for me to go where I would want to go just because it's here. Am I going to want to go
Yes, it
every year?
is.
We'll see. We'll see what happens because they're constantly changing things every year. But as just a fan of football, to 20 years ago,
Mm.
the type of Pro Bowl that it was, like we got Sean Taylor just blowing up the punter on a fake punt on my man trying to get a first down. Like
Yeah.
those memories of how hard they went in those games, it's just hard to see, and it sucks to see where it has gone to. So if I'm gonna put it on a scale of 1 to 10, as a person that lives in the city, I would give it a 7, 7.5.
Okay. That's solid.
But as a fan of football, 3,
Okay.
and that's being generous.
Mm-hmm. So I'm not even capping. I know you have a cap on your head, but I'm not capping when I say this. Those are my exact ratings. So I'm like, I was gonna say those are my exact ratings. So and I'll kind of feed off or piggyback whatever you want to say, have you. The fact that one is in close proximity, right? Being in the city that being in Vegas, obviously. So the locale of it, and then also you kind of look at it as a from a fan perspective of the potential opportunity to see players. If you can see players, maybe even meet players, you never know. Also, I know for you, I know you have a daughter, kids, so depending on like how events go and stuff like that, obviously they try to make certain things family friendly. So I don't have a kid or kids, but that is something that I think can benefit people who, hey, maybe I can take the kids out, maybe they want to see it. So just having something for the community, for the city. So I like that aspect of it. But from a fan perspective, I have not been interested in the Pro Bowl in years. I'm just being honest with you, maybe like a decade, because I miss the fastest man. I miss some of these other things, and also there's always going to be a bit of nostalgia, Ralph, in terms of certain players that I liked watching. And I know my favorite player, is trying to get a contract and didn't make the Pro Bowl this year. So, um, so I won't be seeing Lamar, that's for sure. So it's kind of like, well, I'll see you guys next year.
Right,
but
right. It
but
would be
yeah,
interesting to see him in a fastest man race.
that's what I'm saying, man. But he didn't make the Pro Bowl this year, so he
Yeah,
voted in. So but it's just I like the game because like when we was coming up, bro, we had the Mike Vicks, we had the Brett Favre, and like you would have all this talent. They would play a quarter, and the next person would play a quarter, and it wasn't no two-hand touch. It's like, hey, you get your lights knocked out. Hey, that's
right.
how it is. It's
It's
football.
football.
If we want flag football, we might as well do what pros versus Joes or sports
Right,
science or
right, right,
those things. Let the fans come in and like one of those virtual reality commercials and hey, can you get past Roquan Smith for the first down or something? I don't know, man. That's what I think of flag football. So but I'm with you, man. I give it a 7 for the city, for the community and stuff like that. But as a fan, it's kind of like I'm gonna go 2. I'm knocking it 1 point because my quarterback's not in it.
I do think it's one of those things where you could do. I think a pros versus Joes would be actually be a really good change because then you can kind
Yeah.
of
That would
do
be cold.
a
Mm-hmm.
like a tournament of a sort
Mm-hmm.
where there's a flag football tournament. Winner gets to go against
Yeah.
the Pro Bowl, a Pro Bowl team or something along that line. I think that would be really cool. It'd be a dope thing to get back into the communities.
Right.
You could even do where there's like because now we have NIL deals. You
Mm-hmm.
could do a thing where you get like high schoolers get an opportunity to go against their idols type of thing.
That'd be cold.
And I think
That'd be cold.
that would be a real cool deal, man. Up next, we got the fast break.
That's great.
Man, Uncle Shay Sharp was out here wild, and he said he was off the Sprite and not the yak.
Yeah.
He gets into an altercation with the Memphis Grizzlies as well as T. Morant, Usher's twin brother, John Morant's father.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but within that, it starts off as just simple trash talk.
Yes.
Somehow Steven Adams gets involved because it originally just involved Shannon Sharp and
Dylan
Dylan
Brooks.
Brooks. Steven Adams gets involved. John Morant gets involved, which then T. Morant gets involved.
Mm-hmm.
Cooler heads prevail. Nobody is touched, harmed, or in any way. But Shannon Sharp has to spend half time in the tunnel. They bring him back to his seat. Later on, you see T. Morant and himself hug it out, dap it up. We all good. It's a moment for the culture because so often we are looked at a certain way where you see these men are in their 40s 50s getting to into these altercations,
Mm-hmm.
but then you see it where it doesn't escalate. It's we dapped it up, a whatever the conversation was, but you see that cooler heads prevail after the fact. Shannon Sharp on his show Undisputed with Skip, he issues an apology. Not going to get into the details of the apology
Okay.
outside of him just taking accountability, saying, "Hey, my
Mm-hmm.
bad. I overreacted. I should have taken a moment to say, you know what, this is not worth it. I'm bigger than this, and I'm better than this." And just took it all on the chin, pause if needed, and took accountability. And I think that was why I don't think that me genuinely, I don't think that he needed to issue an apology. I wouldn't have felt any different about him in any way.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, with the way that we're portrayed, while also, regardless of how people feel about him or not, whether he be cooning or he be pandering,
Mm-hmm.
me personally, he's an inspiration to me. So
Mm-hmm.
I like that he took the accountability and said, you know what, I have to be better because one day people are going to see, like my grandkids are going to look. This highlight could pop up, and my grandkids can see this. Now, if I had took it and made it something bigger than that, then that's not something that I would have been able to look them in the eye and say I'm proud of this moment in my life. And
That's a
so I
that's
think that thinking about it from that aspect, him being someone of a mentor leadership role as far as blacks in media
mm-hmm.
and former athletes in media, and then just being a successful black man. Period. I think that it's one of those things that, and he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
So I think all of those things, you put them all in the one bowl, you stir it up, and you look at that's why he's someone who is an inspiration to me. So I don't think that he needed to apologize. I wouldn't have looked at him any other way, but I do think for the bigger picture, bigger scheme, it was important that he apologized.
Okay. I kind of look at it from a standpoint of this is for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction, and so obviously Shannon Sharp I it I mean he initiated communication with Dylan Brooks. So we had to look at it from that perspective and the fact that he said you can't guard LeBron, you can't guard LeBron, you can't guard LeBron. However, as an NBA player, it's upon themselves to pay the hecklers no mind because Dylan Brooks and any NBA player knows that when you go into an arena, when you ever go into the Lions Den, the Coliseum, whatever you want to say, there's going to be hecklers. So Shannon Sharp he always speaks on hecklers, and he talks about people should be ejected and all this other kind of stuff. So it's like, are you keeping the same energy? However, the issue is with Shannon Sharp is, I mean, the issue here is Shannon Sharp didn't say anything malicious at all.
Right.
He didn't say anything malicious. He didn't say anything harmful. He didn't say anything demeaning towards Dylan Brooks that should have really indicated a shut the f up response from Dylan Brooks. However, Dylan Brooks spoke out of term. Now we know that NBA players, people in general, a lot of people, they curse and all that kind of stuff. And NBA events, sporting events, people go to their families, and there's going to be kids there. And so him saying that, and also Shannon Sharp, I think, being from down south in the country, and respect is big, and all that kind of stuff. And I think he kind of reacted to that. But also, some people just don't want to be told shut the f up. Let's be keeping it real. But I just kind of
Right.
put a little more additional perspective on it. And so he replied. But then when he said, come to say it to my face, I think that's when it kind of like brought attention away from the basketball game. And then the players came in, and other people had nothing to do with it came in. And so then I think that wound up being the catalyst of it. So I think that, Ralph, like to your point, is why he probably actually apologized, because like I brought attention away from the game. And then T
Right.
Morant, he stepped in because Shannon Sharp was replying to John Morant telling him to sit his butt down. So,
Right.
um, Shannon Sharp, I understand why he did it actually, but it was a situation where I think the theme that we get to is we're glad it didn't escalate to something where any harm was done to any bystanders. Any harm was done to John Moran's dad. Any harm was done to any of the players or Dylan Brooks and vice versa, and all the other kind of stuff. So I think that just from the simple fact that I think the attention that was brought on, and Shannon Sharp is not someone who wants to be seen in a negative light as if anybody else. So once again, I don't think he said anything malicious, like you were saying, or anything that should have provoked that form of response from Dylan Brooks.
Right.
But at the same time, I think it was on both sides, that should have been, held accountable. Dylan Brooks, saying, whoever that guy is. I'm like, he's a Hall of Fame tight end. Of course you know who he is.
Right.
So I think
Right. Don't
once
act like you don't know who he is.
yeah, don't act like you know who he is. Even if you didn't agree with, him telling you to come over there, if anything, you're the one who pretty much told him to shut the F up. So yeah, so yeah, I get why Shannon apologized, but actually I think Dylan Brooks probably should apologize as well. So
Right.
I just
Right.
all
And
right.
then next up, it's been reported KD will miss at least another 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I watched two of the Nets games without KD. Offense looks atrocious.
Mm-hmm.
They're struggling to score. It's really only Cam in spots.
Yeah.
Kyrie and TJ is the only two that can really get themselves a bucket
Mm-hmm.
with need be. So how bad is this for the Nets?
Okay, so on a scale of 1 to 10, let's do a scale of 1 to 10. Right now, I'm gonna give it a 6. And the reason why I give it a 6 is because I believe in Jacques Vaughn, right, as a coach right now. Kyrie Irving is playing really good. He's playing exceptionally well, actually. As a matter of fact, he's averaging like 38 points in his last 3 games, Ralph. So he's been playing really, really good. And I also put everything into context. Um, they won 2 of their last 3 games. Kyrie Irving now, however, in their last 5 games, I believe, Kyrie Irving missed one of the games that they lost to, which was a game in San Antonio at the Spurs. So I put that into context. So when he came back, though, prior to these last 2 wins, they lost 4 games in a row, which just so happens to coincide with Kevin Durant's injury. However, Nick Claxton has been playing extremely well. Kyrie's been playing extremely well. They had a 17-point comeback win versus the Warriors. Nick Claxton had 24 points and 15 rebounds and like 4 blocks or something like that. So I'm not worried about those guys. And obviously, like you said, TJ Warren can score. I think this is the perfect time for there's an adjustment, there's a period of orientation for the Brooklyn Nets. And I came up here on this show, I said they need to play 500 basketball. And I believe they can play 500 basketball. But there's 2 caveats, Ralph. One is I actually believe they need to figure out something to do with Ben Simmons. let's be real. They need to figure out something to do with Ben Simmons. I would actually make Ben Simmons play the five, the small ball five spot when he's on the court. Kyrie bringing the ball up the court actually has been helping. Now, when KD gets back, I don't believe that's going to wind up happening, but that's been helping. Also, I would actually like to see them make a trade. I've discussed John Collins before. I would look at even maybe getting a Kyle Kuzma if you can. We'll talk in another segment with the Lakers getting a piece as well. So the Lakers get a trade. Why can you not package, you know, Edmund Summer or Cam Thomas or one of those players on your bench, right? And getting a piece because there was rumors of them getting John Collins because I know they're going to need another scoring option. Now, once Kyrie comes back, I mean, KD comes back, like we talked about, everything's going to start to flow and all that kind of stuff. But I just think that they need another piece because even in their wins, Kyrie Irving's been playing exceptional in their wins, and he's been playing exceptional in the clutch. That's fine. However, to your point, it's how close the games are, right? So you have a really good team. However, the games are close or you have to come from behind. So that also tells me that you still need another piece. And if Ben Simmons cannot give you 10 points, like Charles was telling Kenny and Chuck was telling Kenny, right? Oh, yeah, I have 15 assists and I have 9 rebounds. How many point guards would love to have 15 assists and 9 rebounds? That is great. That is great. But Ben, if TJ can give you 20, Kyrie can give you 30 or 40 or whatever he's giving you, and Claxton can give you 15 and how many boards, right? Can you give me 10 points? 10 easy buckets, whether it's lobs, whether it's, you know what I'm saying, like layups, something of that nature. Ben Simmons, to me, even when KD comes back, because I think they're going to go through the roof, I need to do something with Ben, and that's something that me and you talked about before the season. It's like they need that third guy to become that second guy when KD is gone, and I think that's what we're starting to see. It's like, yeah, the role players are role players, but it's like on any team that we've seen over the history is when you ask role players to become starters, right, or become a have a bigger role, they start to fall off. So I think that's the issue with the Nets and stuff like that. But Kyrie's been playing well. He had 21 points in the fourth quarter for like 2 straight games. Um, Royce O'Neal, he's been doing his thing, but those are role players. So they need a third scorer. As crazy as it sounds, because you need what is it? You need that insurance, Ralph. You know what I'm saying? If you lose a score, do you have? It's better to what is it? Um, stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Is the sense.
Right, right.
I'll send it back to you. I know that was a mouthful, but you know.
It's all good. It's all good. It's one of those things that like I see everything that what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I watched. I think the last game I watched was the Suns, and that's when they looked really really bad. But
Mm-hmm.
there was some pieces in that like Kyrie just had a bad shooting night that
Yeah.
night, but Ben Ben had spurts and moments where he was aggressive going to the rim, which is really at the end of the day all you can really ask of him
Yeah.
at this point until he tries to shoot somewhat of a jump shot. Now
Mm-hmm.
I seen a couple different moves where it was like, all right, I can see him. It was one where he attacked the rim, spun off, step back, floater. It was a few times where he crossed right to left or left to
Mm-hmm.
right, goes up for the dunk, but it gets blocked. But I like the aggressiveness going toward the rim because when KD comes back, and in this game they played him at the five.
There we go. I like that.
So you see Ben at the five, you see Royce, TJ, Kyrie, and like a Joe Harris or a Steph or Seth in that moment. Where once KD comes back, you're going to see a Royce, KD,
Mm-hmm.
or even if you need more scoring, you throw TJ at the four, or KD plays four. So now you got spacing, you got playmakers, you got defense, and I like the way that Ben's been able to move his feet. He don't look so stiff
Yeah.
playing defense now to where he switches out on guards. He's doing a pretty good job on defense. So we'll see what happens. I do think that Jock is a good coach,
I like Jock. I do like Jock.
and they do still have some talent. It's just a big drop off from KD
KD.
to whoever that person is that's replacing him.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and also real quick before we move on, their next 10 games, guys, 8 of their next 10 games are actually home games. The games that are going to be on the road are at Philly, which is tomorrow, and then later on they play at the Celtics. So they actually play 8 or 10 at home. So that actually might be the best thing that could possibly happen for them, just having that home stretch for them. So yeah.
Correct.
All right.
And there's no way that
Yeah.
the way that the NBA schedule works, it's like they
Mhm.
play 3 games a week anyway.
Yeah.
So for 10 games, that's probably the next 3 weeks or probably the next month. So
There
KD
we
should
go.
definitely be back by at least within that 10 game stretch.
Yeah, he'll be fresh for the second haul.
You alluded to it. Lakers trade 2 second rounders and Kendrick Nunn to the Wizards for Rui Hachimura. What would you
Yeah.
grade this trade?
I give it a. I give it a. Lowest I'll give it a B plus because Lakers they need picks, but that I guess that's not their formula. They're just not going to build through the draft. I give it an A. For the following reasons, we talked about this preseason, Ralph. They needed 3-point shooting. They lacked 3-point shooting. They needed youth, and they needed defense. Rui addresses those issues. He's not the greatest defender in the world, but he can defend. Energy and effort, team
I was gonna
defense.
say he's
There we
he's an
go.
energy and effort guy.
Energy and effort guy. Now you gain a disgruntled player, right? Who was disgruntled because Kyle Kuzma pretty much took his minutes or took his shine and stuff. Now you bring him into a team that actually needs you, so you have a defined role in a system where you have a guy like a Westbrook, you have a guy like a LeBron James, you optimize their abilities by surrounding them with a plethora of 3-point shooters. So when I look at Rui, you're getting a guy who in the last 2 seasons was shooting 41%, about 41% from catch and shoot threes. So, drive and kick, whatever, he can catch it. All we want you to do is knock it down. You're going to be open because they're going to collapse on Bron. They're going to
Uh-huh.
collapse on AD when he gets back. They're going to collapse on Russ. They're going to kick it out because the Russ like to get his assist, knock a shot down. Oh, youth. You said, not you, but, people, we always say the Lakers are old and all that kind of stuff you know. And well, yeah, we say it, but you know what I mean when I say like I'm
Right,
not saying,
right, right.
hey, guess what? By the way, you said no. I'm just saying the narratives of the Lakers are old, which they have been. You're getting a 24-year-old person, so now you address the youth, you address the shooting, and you address the defense. And I think the last thing I was going to say is, I told you like before the show they were 10-9. I think staying afloat with AD. We saw AD play like a top 5 player, MVP candidate level player when he was healthy during that stretch. So they're only 2 games out behind the Clippers for the 6th seed because of the 12th seed now. But the West is very condensed. So
Yeah,
if they continue to win games, they can be quote unquote in the playoffs at some point during the season based off, like record and all that. So I like the trade. I think the lowest I give it is a B plus in terms of just the Lakers not really keeping any of their picks. They've given up, picks to the Pelicans and all that kind of stuff.
yeah.
But it fulfills a need. It's a win now move for them.
Right. That was going to be the thing I lead with.
Oh, go ahead.
I
Go
don't
ahead.
think it's the best trade in the world,
Yeah.
but I'll give it a B,
Okay.
like a solid B, because I like Rui.
I do too.
I think that he's someone that's a good piece to not to build around, but he's a good role player. He's going to get you about 15, 20 points. He's going to get you about 6 to 8 rebounds. He's
Mm-hmm.
going to play defense. He's versatile because he can play a 3, but he typically is listed as a 4. So then
Mm-hmm.
at that point, depending on what you like, Thomas Bryant played really well in the last game, but you have a Thomas Bryant, you have an Anthony Davis, you have a Rui Hachimura, where all of them can slide down, or where you got a big lineup, or you could do an Anthony Davis, Hachimura, LeBron lineup
Yeah.
where there's 3, 4, and 5, or you can even do it to where LeBron is playing the 2, or running the point. So
Running the
it gives
point.
you a lot of flexibility where then that you get that continuity where it's low key you get the LA Wizards
Mm-hmm.
with the Lakers where some of those people have played with Russ.
Yeah.
So now it's like from day one you got younger, fresh talent that's played with Russ. And so on this next one, we got the NBA front runners. for the
I'll let you
MVP.
take the lead on this one, man. Take the lead on this one.
And so I'm gonna go. It's I don't know, man. This is the one that's kind of rough for me.
Yeah.
That is wild.
Is that a trade? Is that a trade?
My bad, y'all. Woj was calling me.
Right. Hey.
Hold up.
It's the sauce.
And then give me one moment. Hey, take
All right.
off, bro. And because I got to do something with it later, real quick.
Got you. All right.
Pretty good.
Yep.
All right. All right. Cool. I was telling you to talk. But
My bad.
it's all
We make
good,
it
bro.
work. No, we make it work.
It's all good. But so my front runner for me, man, it's rough because it's kind of hard to say anybody but Jokic. His team is first. His numbers are better.
Mm-hmm.
You see him game winning shots. You see him clutch plays, top 10 plays. It just looks like he's taking his game to another level that it wasn't at before.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, as much as I would love to say anybody else, Jokic is first in every advanced metric that you can think of.
Mm-hmm.
His team is first. The eye test tells you he's one of three of the best players in our league. Whichever way you want to put them in there, whether it's Giannis, Joel, and him, or you go Tatum,
Mm-hmm.
in that list of people as well. Some people still feel like LeBron. You could go Luka in that conversation. There is no best players list without them being on without mentioning Jokic's name.
Okay. So for me, I also throw KD in there as well in the mix. I know he's not playing, but I mean we see the effect that he has when he's not on the court and on the court for the Brooklyn Nets, right? And so it's a collective effort just to make up for his productivity. So having them lost those 4 games right before the last 2 games that they won. So KD was actually kind of like the dark horse. I know they won't give it to him, but I really believe serious consideration should be given to Kevin Durant. That being said, I'm in wholeheartedly agreement with you with Nikola Jokic. I know last season I talked about what he was able to do without the contributions of Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. Now, obviously, they're back this season, but obviously there's been some injuries and different things of that nature. But Jokic has been closing. He's been making clutch plays. He's been playing defense. Offensively, they have like one of the best offenses in the NBA. It's really hard to stop due to the fact that hey, they can run high pick and roll. Hey, you can't double him in the post. You double him in the post, he kicks out to the shooters. Hey, if he gets you at the 3 point line, what are you going to do? If you back up off him, he can see the floor and make plays for others. But also, if you back up off him, he can hit the three. If you go up on him, he's too big, so he can body you. So there's so many different ways that they can destroy you, right? So I think from an analytical standpoint, obviously the analytic nerds like him. From a value standpoint to the team, he's extremely valuable, and he's coming up in the biggest moments. I always look at the MVP route as how much value you add to a team. Usually I like those guys that are on the teams that they don't have as much talent and they have to carry. However, you're also valuable if you are the best player in those situations when your team is winning and they actually lean to you at the end of the game, or you're the reason why your team is at that level. You know what I'm saying? Just like I mentioned, like, okay, well, maybe the Lakers won 65 games that one year. Kobe won the MVP, I believe. But he was also the best closer in the game and he was defending the other team's best player. And you know what I'm saying? So there's another way that the MVP shows your value, even if you're not on the worst team or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So that All those reasons are exactly why I'm in agreement, with you. As Nikola Jokic is my MVP. Well, KD is my dark horse. Zion's not playing, but the Pelicans they doing their thing, so they're up and down. But
Yeah, if
KD's my dark
KD can have can
horse.
return
Yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
then they go through the roof like you said they would, I
Yeah.
think that he has a shot.
Yeah.
But I
They
think
won't
that
do
as
with
long
KD,
as
but
Jokic
nah.
plays 75 to
Yeah.
that 80 game range, it's
Mm-hmm.
there's no way that he loses in my personal opinion. I think he'll end up
Yeah.
being the first person to win back to back to back since Larry Bird
Bird.
in the '80s.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then next up, for the sake of time, we're gonna move one of our topics that if we have time for it.
Okay.
But we got the NFL award show. Cue the theme music. and so and so on this show, uh, we will do we will be giving our MVP, offensive
Uh-oh.
rookie of the year,
Uh-oh.
defensive rookie of the year, offensive player of the year,
Yeah.
defensive player of the year, and coach of the year. And so, like me, I like to build into the anticipation.
So we're
So we're
doing
gonna
MVP
go
last?
coach
Okay, coach. Okay.
of the year
Mm.
first,
Mm.
and I will go first. So
Mm-hmm.
for me, coach of the year, I'm gonna give it to Doug Peterson.
Okay. I like that.
I was stuck, man, because I wanted to give it to what was it, Brian DeFall
Dable?
from the
Yeah.
Giants,
Mm-hmm.
because when we did, if I could pull the tape from when we did our
Preseason?
preseason predictions,
Yeah.
we none of us had Giants, or even the fact that the NFC East could have possibly been the
Yeah.
best division in football. So the
X.
fact that the Giants got 10 wins and we're able to make it to the playoffs, and we're even fighting for that division supremacy,
Mm-hmm.
got to tip your hat off to him. But because of how bad Urban Meyer's year went with the Jaguars and how bad they looked, now all of a sudden they look like a formidable team where it was, in hindsight, like as a person, as a football fan, it would have been a great story. But did we really think they were going to beat the Chiefs? No. But there's a part of us that were like, I can see it happening.
Oh, wait. The Jags?
Yeah.
I actually picked them to beat the Chiefs, but I get what you're
Right.
saying.
Right. Like the common person would be like,
Oh
ain't no way.
no! I mean the Chargers. The Chargers. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I said Chargers. Go ahead. Yeah, Chargers.
But like the common person would look at that and be like, nah, not gonna happen. But
Right.
someone who knows football and watches football, there's a way that could happen.
Yeah.
And so for me, Dougie P did his thing, coached them boys up, and I'm looking forward to see what they do next year.
Okay. So for the sake of time, like I said, there was three candidates for me. I'm not gonna run through them because I'm just not doing that. But there was three candidates, but the two ones were Doug Peterson and Brian Dable. The third was actually Kyle Shanahan. I'll tell you why. Only because think about this, Ralph. Three different starting quarterbacks. You feel me?
Right.
So you lose Trey Lance, who you invested heavily in. You try to see what he was going to be about. You get Jimmy G. The team's like, yay! Then Jimmy G goes down. Then you get Brock Purdy, who just so happened to be the last pick in the draft. So actually, I really had to think about that, right? But you go and make the trade for C-Mac, and you see, and they have good defense, they have good weapons. So I think he would probably be like my third. And I like what you said about Doug Peterson because it's like Urban Meyer, and then you get a new coach, and then all of a sudden you see what happens. However, Doug Peterson had coaching experience before, and so that's why I give Brian Dable it because Brian Dable never had head coaching experience.
Right.
You feel me? So, real quick, led the Giants to the playoffs for the first time since 2016. 6-1 start was the Giants' best start since the days of Woodrow Wilson as president in 1929. So that was way before us.
Long time ago.
Right, way before the days of Ricky Ricardo and Lila Lucy. But this is like ancient, right? first coach to win in their postseason debut since 1993, and he knocked off a top seed or one of the top tier seeds. I think the 2 seed in the Vikings, right? And the last 5 years, the Giants had the worst. Think about this: the last 5 years, the worst record in the entire NFL, going a combined 22 wins to 59 losses. 3 of those 5 coaches got fired: McAdoo, Shermer, and Joe Judge. And the cherry on the top, or the icing on the cake, or whatever, the NFC East was the only division this year with 2 teams with 11 wins. The Eagles, the team that I'm projecting to actually win the Super Bowl, right, who had an MVP candidate, and the Cowboys, right? So based off strength of their division, like you mentioned with your opening statement, the NFC East and everything else that I mentioned, I think that Brian Dable is the coach of the year for me. So all right, moving on.
That's really who I was leaning toward, but I ended up going with
Yeah.
WP.
That's perfectly fine. I like it.
I like his nickname a little bit more, man. That
Yeah.
WP for me, man, is just doing it.
Yeah.
But next up, we got offensive rookie of the year. I'm really curious to see who you went with.
Who did I offensive rookie? I know my defensive rookie, my offensive rookie. Oh, Tyler Algier. Tyler Algier was my
Yeah,
offensive rookie. Yeah, so that might sort of kind of be a surprise for some people. Actually, I think it might be a surprise for a lot of people. Only because they don't watch the Falcons. Let's just be real. Because the Falcons,
right.
they don't really have a lot of primetime games. But the reason why I say that is because the Falcons had the third best rushing attack in all of football. And Tyler Algier actually set the rookie franchise record, single season franchise record for the Atlanta Falcons, set like a long time ago. He had over 1,000 rushing yards. He only had, I believe, 3 touchdowns, which is less than Kenneth Walker, right? However, he did start all his games, and he didn't have enough time to be in the red zone due to the fact that he had 2 different starting quarterbacks. So teams are going to stack the box more against him, right? So you have a Marcus Mariota, you have a what's the other quarterback, Desmond Ritter, who you started off late the last 4 games of the season. So Tyler Algier, for those reasons, he was actually my offensive rookie of the year, and he didn't record a single fumble all season. He's the only
Oh
running
snap!
back to not fumble the ball, and he was a 3 down back in for pass protection. So I think if a rookie, you're not fumbling the ball, right, and you have 2 different quarterbacks, you have dysfunction at the quarterback position. I like Tyler Algier out of Atlanta.
You know what? For me, man, it's this is one of those things when I think when we go to awards, and I think that it's rough because
It's
some
subjective in a
people
way.
feel like,
Yeah,
oh, team success shouldn't do anything. But I think that when you start to think about, we
impact.
talk about empty calories when it comes to
Mm.
to sports. It's a well known phrase or analogy that we use, and I think that what the Seahawks were able to do for me, when you mentioned the person that I'm going to bring up, Kenneth Walker.
Okay, I like him.
Kenneth
I
Walker.
like him.
Kenneth Walker the third, 9 touchdowns, 4.6 yards a carry, over a
Mm.
thousand yards for a
Mm.
team that going into the year we thought that they were going to be where the Arizona Cardinals are as
Facts.
far as the record standings. And so I think that there's a plethora of reasons why Geno Smith playing so well,
Mm.
pretty much being able to do exactly what Russell Wilson was able to do the year before. But then you get an actual running game. Your defense comes steps up. So I think there's a lot of team
Mm.
success that goes into this, but also being a person that Geno Smith wouldn't be able to do a lot of things that he was able to do without a solid running game.
True.
So I think that when you mention Tyler Algier, he was able to play every game, where Kenneth Walker didn't start every game,
Hmm.
nor did he play every game. And so I think at a certain point, certain people was in front of him, but once he got the rock, it was a wrap.
Yeah.
And
Production.
so I think what he was able to do in not as many games, over 1,200 yards on purpose yards, 9 touchdowns, like I said, 4.6 yards a carry.
Yeah.
I think that he's someone that's there that this year they were able to lean on in those moments when they really needed him,
Hmm.
and it solidified a lot of games where it put that stamp on it, like, yeah, this is a victory for us. So for
Mm.
me, my offensive rookie of the year, Kenneth Walker the third. After that, we're gonna go over to the defensive rookie of the year.
I think we're gonna agree on this one. I think I got Sauce Gardner. I wanted to be Kyle Hamilton, who was great as the PFF best safety in the NFL, or whatever. Kyle Hamilton balled out the second half of the season, but
Yeah,
I'm going Sauce Gardner. The
we
dude
actually disagree.
okay, this is gonna be interesting. So
It's,
he was
you would think I'm a Seahawks fan,
yeah.
but
Okay.
I'm gonna go Tariq Woolen, bro.
Okay, yeah.
So,
I got Sauce Gardner.
so comparing him to Sauce,
Go ahead.
yes,
What you
he
got?
has 7 less tackles,
Okay.
4 less pass deflections,
Mm-hmm.
but he has 3 less targets. He was
Mm.
someone he was guarding was targeted three less times, but he has 4 more picks.
Mm.
So for me,
How does that even work? Right. Like
so
that
for
man. I'm trying to
me,
figure
I
that out.
think that the fact that he
Mm.
came out of nowhere, 6 picks, and he had a
Mm.
game like a game of like four games in a row, a stretch of 4 games in a row where he had a pick
Mm-hmm.
in all of these games, and people he was guarding was targeted 3 less times. Where I
Mm.
think that he is another. It's another reason why he's a big reason why that defense was able to do what they
Elevate.
did and keep them in games to why we have this surprise team.
Okay. I
So
like
for
that.
me, I think he literally is one of them people that's cutting off one side of the field,
Mm-hmm.
i.e., like Sauce is doing. Sauce is doing his thing. That's it's
Yeah.
one of those things where I went with the Seahawks because their defense overall was just better.
Okay.
Like
And they
if
had
you
less
look at
talent on their defense than the Jets, I think. I think the Jets had a little
exactly,
more help for Sauce. Okay.
exactly, and so for
Okay.
me, that's why I went with him. I think that you really can't go wrong picking Sauce.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of hype coming into it and coming into the season, and
Mm-hmm.
so I think that off the rip, it's just like yeah, he was able to do his thing. Next
All right.
up,
Next one. What we got next?
we got offensive player of the year.
Okay, I got that. Justin Jefferson.
You know what? Is I was looking at him too, man, and a
But
part of me
it's
wanted to pick
crazy.
him, but
Yeah.
his touchdowns are so low.
That's but and that's true. That's true. But I feel like that's the Julio Jones effect for some reason. Because
Yeah,
remember Julio and AB. Remember AB always had him, and I don't know because we don't have a big enough sample size of saying Justin Jefferson can't like get touchdowns,
right.
right? But he blows everything else out of the water, which is crazy. But Tyreek Hill was balling too. You feel me?
Which his
But that's
same
just
thing
me.
too
I got Jefferson, but
is he didn't get as many touchdowns, but I think Waddle got more touchdowns.
man, than Tyreek.
Yes,
Mm. But Jefferson has like everything else pretty
right,
much.
right. He has the receptions. He got the yards per catch. He got the actual reception yards.
Yeah. Yeah.
Devontae Adams got the touchdowns. Where like,
Devontae had an underrated season this year, which is
bro,
crazy.
I was literally just thinking this. I was just about to say
Yeah.
that. Like, I
Yeah.
looked at his numbers. He got 100 catches,
Mm-hmm.
1,500 yards,
Mm-hmm.
14 touchdowns,
Right.
and we act as if he just.
Did he make an all pro? Did he make like one of them all pro teams? He better have something. You have
With
to
those
see.
numbers, you should.
That's first team all pro numbers, and people are saying you might be the second best receiver in the league now.
Right.
That's crazy. I don't know how
Um,
you feel. I don't know if you still have him number one. I wouldn't be mad at it if you
I
still have
still
him
have
number
him as
one.
number one. Like,
Okay,
I
for me
watched
it's
a
like
lot of games, bro,
right.
and he just had like really good corners look silly.
Yeah. Because he didn't get locked up by no Darius Slay. No disrespect. Darius
Right.
Slay is cold though. See, Slay's
Right.
cold though. So I got like 1A, 1B. That's what it is for me. Like it's like it's 1A, 1B, man. I don't even take this number two no more. No. So I don't know. That's just me. You know.
Next up, we got defensive player of the year.
We definitely disagreeing on this one. Well, who you got?
I got Nick Bosa, man.
Okay.
Playoff football focus got him at 19 sacks. He only played 14 games.
That's crazy.
Like he got what is it 20 tackles for loss in this on the
Mm-hmm.
season.
I think it's like 70 something pressures or something like that.
He's rated the playoff football focus got him at overall 91, which is tops in the league.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, Nick Bosa in 14 games he got 19 sacks.
Okay. So my argument, some might think it's not as strong, but I'm going off of just impact in terms of the fact that he was able to change the culture and change the defense, right? Maybe culture may sound like hyperbole, but he was able to infuse something wild, and the statistics clearly show the team statistics as well. And he helped Patrick Queen get money this year. The Baltimore Ravens paid a linebacker $100 million before they paid their franchise quarterback, ladies and gentlemen. And that linebacker, Ralph knows him very well, is Roquan Smith, winner of the Butt Kiss Award. I don't know why they call it Butt Kiss Award. It's not KISS, guys. It's Dick Butt. You know what I'm saying? As he won the Butt Kiss Award this season, he was instrumental and integral piece in changing that entire defense around Ralph. No one can speak better than I did because I was able to watch the game just like you saw Devontae and the Raiders. He was first team All Pro this year, Pro Bowler all this year. The Buckets Award is given to the league's best linebacker, third in the NFL in tackles at 169. He had 3 interceptions and 5 sacks, and he allowed Patrick Queen to slide into his natural position, right? So that Baltimore Ravens defense is huge. You saw what they were able to do against the Bengals, right? Um, I think once he came, the Ravens only allowed what was it 14.7 points per game. After the Roquan Smith trade, he was just incredible. So based off his impact and that on the team per se, I'm actually give Roquan Smith the Defensive Player of the Year award. But Nick Bosa went nuts, so I know I'm in the majority. I'm a minority here. All right,
And next up, we got the good old MVP.
perfect time. We got some time.
MVP.
You go first
MVP.
because this was
MVP.
interesting.
And you can call me a hater if you want. I
Okay.
want Jalen Hurts, bro.
Okay.
Because, and this is the thing for me,
Mm.
the Eagles were on a dominant run until he got hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go and look and see what they were able to do without him.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the MVP is most valuable player.
Mm-hmm.
I would argue that if you put Chad Henne in the game for a 2 to 3 game stretch, are they going 0-2
Mm-hmm.
without Chad Henne?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, with Chad Henne. And that's where, although I think that Pat Mahomes, what he was able to do this year without Tyreek is phenomenal. He literally had a better year than when he had Tyreek Hill. So I can see where you're coming from, but if you add in all-purpose yards, Jalen Hurts is at like 43 and some change, or maybe even almost 45.
Mm-hmm.
If you put his touchdowns plus rushing touchdowns, his numbers are a little short of Pat Mahomes as far as touchdowns and yards. But
Okay.
at the same time, he played 2 less games, and in that third game, he hadn't played a game in 3 weeks.
Mm.
So he
And
came in rusty.
the rushing too. He gives them that rushing upside.
Exactly.
He makes those things go. Makes the game easier for the running backs.
And so I think that if you put that into perspective, what that actual award is, he's more valuable to his team and their success than Pat Mahomes is to his team and their success. And we don't got much time, but you go
Okay.
crazy for like 2 minutes,
So
and we got to get up out of here.
All right. So ticker's on. I'm just gonna quickly say what you're saying is pretty much the KD versus Steph Curry effect on the Warriors is pretty much exactly how I see Pat Mahomes. I did see a game versus the Chargers. I remember I told you about it when he lost every single receiver in that game and had Travis Kelce and threw 3 touchdowns. I said Patrick Mahomes is the second coming. So I was like, look, I can't even, and I don't even dislike Patrick Mahomes, right? That's your rival. But I was like, yo, this is ridiculous. So there's a huge, huge case for why Patrick Mahomes is probably going to win the MVP. It's crazy. With that being said, man, look, Jalen Hurts got so much hate, bro. I gotta go with Jalen Hurts, man, because I, for one, know what it's like as Lamar when he won the MVP. That rushing upside matters, opening the game for people, right? Elevating those around. You know what I'm saying? So I got Jalen Hurts, and that's how we're gonna end the show.
And yeah. Make sure you watch, like, share. Go on all of our socials, like we mentioned before. Go on Instagram. Type in J.U.K. Sports Show. Go on Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, TikTok, and type in at KYNGRALPH. On Twitter, add an underscore. Go on Instagram, type in at the.house of hoops. If you want any unbiased, no narrative driven basketball analysis, All Star Weekend is a month away.
Yeah.
Next week we will be breaking down who we voted and for our starters
Mm-hmm.
and why. Look out for the actual Facebook and YouTube page for everything in dealing with this channel. We will be changing the name from He Say She Say channel. It is will be moving to, you will see Juke Media,
I
or
like
at
it.
least Juke in any form fashion. But type in Juke Media on YouTube. Starting next week, I will be doing a collab show with the homie, wrapping up the daily sports. I will be posting on my individual page at KYNGRALPH, going live on Instagram under that name as well. You'll be able to see any updates that we're doing, and I will let you know what days of the week will we be doing that. We went over our time, but it's all good. I'm gonna go hang out with my daughter, eat some pizza,
Oh,
drink some
nice.
coffee. Sounds like a wild different combination, but hey,
Yeah.
thanks for watching. Bye, y'all.
Peace.